Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video, and it is the moment of truth. This is what everybody has been waiting for, I think, regardless if you're doing Mythic Plus, Mythic Rating, or PvP, and that is class tuning adjustments that will be going live on March 25th. And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. But let's get started here. Kaivax, the GOAT, is starting us off with Season 2 is now in full swing, and following the Mythic Raid being fully cleared, we've compiled a major set of tuning changes to address over and under performance and all types of group content. We are planning to make the following adjustments with scheduled weekly maintenance on Tuesday, March 25th in this region. Supatease, you're getting a 4% damage buff, but not in PvP. Feels bad, man. Feels Supatease, man. They're back on the hate train for Supatease here, at least when it comes to PvP. You get no damage for you in PvP, but PvE, you're pretty happy about that. Demon Hunter for Vengeance, deflecting spikes talent now causes demon spikes to increase parry chance only by 10%, down from 15. They're likely looking at the representation of Vengeance in Mythic Plus. This doesn't really have any consequence in PvP. Boomkin is getting some buffs that look like they are going through in PvP. And I'm honestly a bit surprised to see them because they're oriented around damage. Wrath is going to be doing 30% more damage. Curious to see if that has any implications on like Wrath specific builds. I know Sam I Am, in Season 1 popped up and tried making a Wrath build for a bit, and 30% is quite sizable. 5% on Star Surge is the most impactful, I think, of all the changes for the most standard build for Boomkin when it comes to PvP. And in raiding, I saw Tettles making posts, Boomkin's rock bottom. So I'm not surprised to see it get buffs. I'm just maybe a bit surprised to not see counter to these buffs. Maybe the Wrath one's a healthy one, but the Star Surge one seems to be pretty scary. And it looks like they are going to be rewinding some of Elun's Chosen nerfs that came in Season 1. And Elun's Chosen started off really powerful, getting really big Starfire hits, and I was really liking it. And then it got nerfed, and it was completely unplayable. So now, Lunar Calling increases Starfire's damage to its primary target by 160%, up from 100%. So that's quite a significant increase to this. That is sizable enough that I'm going to try and give it a go again, because I actually liked it more. It's like a really hard cast-centric build. It's kind of more like you were a Destruction Warlock as a balance through, whereas the other one was the more traditional kind of bank up your Star Surges and blast out a bunch of them all at the same time. Overall, I mean, they've got me excited to play Boomkin, but it's not focused around their survivability, which was like the main competitive pain point for them. But maybe in the PvP section, things will obviously make more sense. It's possible they just completely revert those. Guardian Druids, though, Druid of the Claw, dreadful wound damage is increased by 20%, and Druid of the Claw, empowered shapeshifting increases swipes damage by 12%, up from 6, and mangles damage by 25, up from 15. And Druid of the Claw, wild power surges bonus damage to rip damage, though, has been reduced to 200% from 225%. So some nerfs to kind of some cat weaving for Guardian, but just overall, bear increases to damage throughput. I actually tried some Guardian Druid in PvP, and I don't know the exact, I was playing Druid of the Claw, but I don't know the exact scaling of this, but it was honestly, I was out damaging some classes. So this could actually have some meaningful impact for Guardian Druid in terms of viability in PvP. Devastation Evokers. You're getting a lot of attention on Evokers here with this one, it looks like. Fixed an issue where the final tick of Disintegrate would not benefit from Titanic Wrath or Iridescence while talented into Azure Celerity. So this looks like a big bug fixing pass as well. I know a lot of people are complaining about like, oh my god, my class doesn't work, the hero talents don't work, what's going on? So it looks like that's what they're doing with this. The Narubar raid set bonus was too strong. It was causing players to not want to equip new gear from Undermine. We're reducing the Narubar's tier set effectiveness to encourage people to use the newer items. They've always had to do that. It's very tough to make a set bonus that is always scalingly better than the previous one while also remaining kind of unique and cool in some sense. So this is just them kind of nipping that error out of the way now. Devastation, Evoker, Narubar, they're just nerfing everything from 4 to 1 second. Devastation 2 set bonus, Shattering Star. The Undermine set bonuses are also getting buffed though. So you will cast a Shattering Star at 100% effectiveness, up from 50, which it'll just go back to 50 in PvP. It was 25 before, so still a pretty significant increase. Chance for Devastation Evoker Undermine 2 set bonus to trigger is also increased by 25% frequency, and your 4 set bonus increases the damage of your next Empower ability by 25% per stack, up from 20. So it would have been 10, now it's going to be 12.5 in PvP. So just overall bug fixes and buffs for Devastation Evoker. I think Evoker across the board at least in PvE. Not a lot of people have been playing it, especially since they completely eradicated it. Now they're going to talk about Augmentation Evoker, and this has been a problematic spec in PvE. So developers notes, after our last round of tuning, we were pleased with Augmentation's support capabilities, as that's the strength of the spec. However, their personal damage contribution is lower than we'd like. We're buffing their personal damage to bring their overall output up without further increasing their support. Okay, Aug is gonna be really scary. 15% damage increase on all abilities. They're gonna, like, they already can one-shot people. This is gonna make them really one-shot people in PvP. This is a bit scary. And I know I'm saying it because 0.0% of people in PvP are even playing it on the representation graphs and charts that we've seen, but like, I've experienced it. I've tried it. It can hit really hard, and this could be very troubling. Preservation Evoker, they're nerfing your Nurubar set bonus as well, but they're probably going to compensate you with that as well. So they're nerfing the 4-set bonus, but they're also just buffing all of your healing spells and abilities by 5%. And Spirit Bloom is getting an additional 20% increase. Energizing Flame refunds 80% of the mana cost of Living Flame when used to attack an enemy target, up from 50%. Disintegrate damage has been buffed for preservation by 25%, and Living Flame damage has been buffed by 25%, but not in PvP, so only the Disintegrate portion. I think that's because most Evoker play a build where you're just kind of only using Living Flame. I think you use Disintegrate, but it's like much more rare. Overall, this increases for Prez. I mean, you can't complain about that. Beastmaster Hunters. Now, did you guys get nerfed? Did they catch you, bro? Because this post looks massive. These are a lot of changes. Beastmastery Hunter is performing well, but we have a few planned changes to address some of the quality of life issues and bug fixes. Dark Ranger Black Arrow periodic effect duration is being buffed to 14, so 4 seconds longer. Withering Fire now prioritizes enemies that do not have the Black Arrow effect. And Pack Leader, they fixed a bug preventing load from the front from increasing the Pack Leader's Boar's damage. Withering Fire now fires 4 additional Black Arrows, up from 2. So some little tweaks there. I feel like Dark Ranger kind of fell off pretty hard, at least in PvP. And this is like the balancing act between the hero talent trees. Some hero talent trees, I feel like they're starting to get a pretty good even overlap of them. I feel like Holy Paladin is probably one of the best example of that. But then there's other ones where we just yo-yo. This is now the best hero talent tree, and then no, this one's terrible. And feel like trying to bring them in a little bit more conservatively could be a good way of doing that. Maybe this will accomplish that, but it doesn't seem too huge overall for Beast Mastery. For Survival Hunter, we are increasing the frequency and power of Pack Leader summons to Survival to help make this hero talent tree more appealing. You're just getting a 4% damage buff across the board. Pack Leader Dire Summons kill commands reductions has been increased to 2 seconds, up from 1. Your boar damage is 40% increase, or your bear and your boar are 40% each. Howl the Pack Leader duration reduced to 25 seconds from 30, and they fixed a bug preventing lead from the front from increasing the Pack Leader's boar damage. So just overall Pack Leader buffs for Survival. This is kind of a wait and see if it actually still ends up being better than Sentinel or not. The 4% damage buff overall, though, it's not terrible. Marksmanship Hunter seems like it's getting some pretty juicy buffs here. Dark Ranger's performance is lower than expected. So yeah, this is what I was talking about. Like they're scaling the hero talent trees back and forth. We're making substantial tuning adjustments to bring them closer to where we'd expect. We'd like Phantom Pain to be a compelling source of damage and worth playing around in Mythic Plus and AoE scenarios, especially when combined with True Shot. So maybe not a huge deal. Explosive Shot's getting a 15% damage buff, which will also affect your set bonus and maybe make it a little bit more appealing. I've seen a lot of hunters, at least in PvE, not too fond of the set bonus, but that will buff it up. Volley damage by 25%. You know, the volley portion of the damage is not huge, right? It's mostly about getting double tap if you're running double tap. Dark Ranger, Black Arrow damage is getting buffed by 50%. That's very significant. So Dark Ranger could definitely be on the table again. Black Arrow periodic effect is also being increased by 4 seconds, much like Beast Mastery. Phantom Pain. Remember, this thing was crazy broken for Beast Mastery hunters. I don't know if it'll scale the same way as Marksmanship, though, but it's getting buffed from 8 to 24%. And Bleak Powder was another one as well in the last patch. It's getting 100% increase. Withering Fire now prioritizes enemies that do not have Black Arrow periodic effect. So some quality of life bug fixes for Hunter. So no nerfs just yet. We'll have to wait maybe for the PvP section of that to see what happens to Hunters. For Arcane, you're getting an 8% damage buff, but not in PvP. Frost is getting a 4% damage buff, but not in PvP. Fire is getting a 3% damage nerf, and you're not getting compensated in PvP. So they must think Fire is really good. And I think that all 3 mage specs are really good. I think, you know, Overpowered Barriers kind of propping them all up to some extent. Maybe that'll get nerfed. So if it does get nerfed, I feel like Fire's probably, I don't know. I don't think Fire's outperforming the other 2 personally, but we'll see here. Windwalker got a 4% damage buff, but not in PvP. I think this is obvious, as well as Slicing Wind's 20% damage buff, not in PvP. These are good catches because that would get, you know, a little bit ridiculous. Mistweaver Monks. We're decreasing. Oh, God, they're going to nerf you guys because you're too good in PvE. They're going to nerf you guys because you're too good in PvE. I feel like I need to slide this over a little bit. All damage decreased by 25%, but not in PvP. Okay, good. Jade Fire Teaching now increases Ancient Teachings transfer by 215%, up from 160, but not in PvP. Spinning Crane Kick is going to get a 15% damage increase, which I don't think is a huge deal in PvP. Awakened Jade Fire now transfers 120% of the damage, up from 110. I don't know if are you playing Jade Fire anymore as a Mistweaver? The last time I played, I don't remember using that, so I don't think that's. I think it's like a net nothing, at least in PvP for Mistweaver. Brewmaster 3% damage increase. Oh my god. It's going to increase the damage of your Blackout Kick by 250% from 150%. Okay, Brewmaster is definitely going to be... It's going to pop up, bro. Brewmaster is... This is definitely going to pop up. Holy Paladin. Holy Paladin's throughput has been below our targets, so we are combining an overall buff with targeted increases to a few spells we would like to feel particularly more impactful. To the 3% healing increase across the board. Word of Glory and Eternal Flame are getting 20% increase. That's a lot. Light of Dawn... Dude, Paladins had like 2 weeks of being like... mediocre maybe at worst. And you're getting these gigabuffs. Light of Dawn healing increased by 20%, not a big deal in PvP. Holy Prism, not a big deal in PvP, but it's being increased by 30%. Holy Prism single target healing damage increased by an additional... Okay, maybe Holy Prism is good now. Shield of the Righteous is getting a 30% damage buff. So really I think it's mostly this. The Eternal Flame and the 3% are going to be felt the most. They're buffing Final Verdict. Red Paladins, you're getting your buffs. When you guys are back on top and 40% of the representation on the ladder for all of the PvP brackets, you will remember this. You will remember this. 20%. And this isn't even the PvP part. This is just the overall part, so there's still more. For Holy Priest, oh my god, you're getting a lot of attention here. This is a lot of stuff. To increase healing from weaker spells and talents, we're also tuning up Oracle. Prayer of Healing, 25% increase. I don't think you use that too much if ever in PvP, but Prayer of Mending, 20%. Renew, 60%. It's very significant. Lightwell, 30%. Divine Image, 20%. And it's damaged by 20%. Holy Fire is getting another 20% damage increase. I really like that the buff Shadow Word Pain. Renewed Faith now increases healing done to allies with Renew by 10% up from 6. So the Renew gets a buff, and it buffs you healing even more. Renews from Empowered Renew now heal 120% more than normal Renew, up from 60. Oh my... Oracle Preemptive Care now increases the duration of Renew by 40%, going to last longer, heal more, buff all of your heals. Preventive Measures now increases the healing of Prayer of Mending by 40% up from 25%. And Preventative Measures now increases the damage of Smite, Holy Fire, and Holy Nova by 40%. Okay, that's a lot. I feel like this is a lot for Holy. And maybe they needed it because you guys were on the bottom. But I've seen some like RMPs starting to pick up Holy Priest. They're 100% picking it up now. Shadow Priest, you guys got a slap on the wrist. 3% damage reduced. At least for now. We'll have to see what the rest of this section brings. But Discipline Priest, Lenience now causes Atonement to reduce damage taken by 2% down from 3. So Discipline is getting nerfed a bit. Some overall damage mitigation here. Atonement now causes spell damage to heal all targets affected by Atonement for 32% of the damage done, down from 35, but not being applied in PvP. So just an overall Atonement is just 1% less damage reduction. This, again, slap on the wrist to the 50% representation of the healers here. So PvP section's probably going to be pretty big for you, I think. Assassination Rogues, nerfing your 2-set bonus. They're buffing all of your damage by 3%, but not in PvP. Mutilate and Ambush also by 40%. Good thing, because Assassination would have been crazy with that. So again, nothing changing there for PvP. Elemental Shamans. You guys have been kind of saying you guys need some buffs. So like, what's going on with you? Lava Burst, 8% damage buff. Lightning Bolt, 8% damage buff. We get an 8% guy on this patch note update. It's not the 3% guy, although we got a couple of 3%. So maybe it's a new guy. It's an 8% intern. Ice Fury damage increased by 8%. Frost Shock damage increased by 8%. Primordial Wave will now generate 12 Maelstrom from 3, and Primordial Wave's damage is increased by 500%. So I think that this was turned into like a random pad AoE ability. It wasn't too great. I don't know if a 500% increase is enough, but if it is, 500% is a big number. All of this stuff, though, up here this is just all raw overall throughput. I think Ellie could be absolute monster even with just that. Restoration Shaman, your 2-set bonus, they fixed issues with Totemic Projection to apply insurance, so it's a bit of a nerf, but they're buffing the overall healing, though, from the insurance by 30%. Demonology, you're getting a 3% damage increase. Shield for Prot Warriors. Now, Prot Warrior actually has a lot of damage. So Shield Slam is getting reduced by 5%. Colossus Practiced Strikes bonus to Shield Slam Revenge damage reduced by 10% down from 20. Colossus 1 against many reduced to 3% down from 5. And Colossus Tide of Battle reduced to 7% per stack down from 10. Mountain Thane Strength of the Mountains bonus to Shield Slam damage increased, though, to 15%. So Mountain Thane buffs, Colossus nerfs. Overall kind of nerf trajectory for Prot Warrior, which I'm not surprised to see too much. Now the PvP one, the PvP section, man, and like There was so many changes up top. What is going on here with this? We are adding a healing reduction effect to rated battlegrounds and battleground blitz this week to reduce the potential for stalemates in these modes. This does not affect unrated battlegrounds. Similarly, 2v2 arena matches are being drawn out when there's a healer on both teams. So we are increasing the starting healing reduction in 2v2 arena to allow for initial kill opportunities to be viable earlier. So healing is too high in other areas, and they've realized if they nerfed it, then 3v3 arena would be way too fast. And there's a problem between balancing the two. And this is the lever that they do need to adjust in order to hit a comfortable spot. So in rated battlegrounds and battleground blitz, there'll be a 10% healing reduction overall. And in 2v2, it just starts immediately at 10%. I think that's a healthy change. So healers aren't just complete god mode in battleground blitz, and you can actually have some movement there. But 10% really going to even be enough? I guess it's kind of wait and see, but I think that's the right direction, the right thing to hit. For Death Knights, we're aiming to improve Death Knights' defenses against other melee specs. Bloodforged armor now lasts 4 seconds up from 3 and reduces physical damage by 25%, so that's a PP talent. It's going to make you a bit more tanky. Soul Reaper's damage to targets below 35% health is increased by 75%. I like that. The Soul Reaper Execute got deleted out of the game a while ago. It wasn't really even a viable option. So, buffing some cool mechanics like that. I haven't been in the game in a while. I think is a good way to make it fun for people. For Blood, Sand Lane, Vampiric strike damage increased by 30% in PvP combat. They really buffed Blood DK. And for Unholy, Sand Lane's Vampiric damage has been increased. So they're trying to buff Sand Lane, it looks, and buff some of the Bloodforged kind of builds. So and that's like their intent. Like, if you go Sand Lane and you pick up Bloodforged, you're going to be tankier in a melee, and that can kind of assist you in those types of situations. And that's their goal. And then here, we'll give you kind of like a cool burst execute thing along with that. So I think it's pretty decent. For Boomkin, we're increasing the damage of multiple balanced druid spells and reducing the spec's reliance on Harmony of the Grove for burst potential. We're looking to increase the spec's survivability by removing PvP reductions on Frenzied Region. Moonfire and Sunfire are getting a 33% buff in PvP combat. Remember, that's with the 30% Wrath up top. Frenzied Regen is no longer reduced by 38%, so we're going to have big, beefy Frenzied Regens. Cooldown reduction on Frenzied Regens is going to be good. Keeper of the Grove, though, Harmony of the Grove spell damage increased by 4% down from 8. So this is the problem, again, with the balancing of the hero talent trees, because we got that big buff to Elun's Chosen, and now we're getting nerfs to Keeper of the Grove, so I'm just like, this one's probably going to edge out ahead now. Because you're nerfing one at the same time you're buffing the other, so I'm a bit worried about that. But obviously, if they were going to buff things like this, then that would have to come down. But this might open up Starfall builds, maybe some dot builds. Definitely curious to give this a go. The Frenzy Regen change is nice. Is it enough? Maybe. We'll see as far as survivability. For Feral Druid, Tireless Pursuit PvP talent now only increases movement speed by 25%, and Wicked Claws is only going to reduce healing by 16%. So they're going after your Mortal Strike effect. So you're not going to be the same as powerful as other Mortal Strike effects, and that's a trade-off for having really high mobility, crowd control, and really good damage. Honestly, I think that's a fair thing to go after. You get some healing reductions, because it's kind of mandatory for a lot of melee DPS as far as like comp variety, but not as much as other classes. That's still going to be their speciality. That's an interesting way to go at it. And Feral did need to get a bit of a nerf with how strong its damage output, so making it easier to heal through and is a way of nerfing its damage. For Resto Druid, Frenzied Regeneration healing is no longer reduced by 50% in PvP combat. So Resto Druids are going to get a bit more tanky with this. I haven't seen some Resto Druid saying with the 4-set bonus that it's looking like it's probably going to be more competitive. I need to get Mastery Gear and 4-set bonus before I can give that opinion, because playing without it and not a lot of Mastery is very miserable. And we didn't really see anything for Resto Druid relative to the other healing specs, like Holy Priest especially, on this update. Mage has got a paragraph, bro. I don't know if this is like we need to have a talk moment, but you got a lot of stuff. We're adding some reductions to the power of Mage mobility and defensives with emphasis on Arcane, which is especially tough to chase. Overpowered Barrier is something we're excited to see used. We feel the 5-second duration is too high to encourage the gameplay we want for this talent, which is for enemies to consider waiting for the barrier to expire to continue attacking. We're reducing its duration to encourage that. This also reduces its defensive value since it has indeed been a bit overpowered. Overpowered Barrier now lasts 4. That's still a very long time. I was talking to Mez on his stream last night, and he felt like the cooldown of the barrier is the issue. So like you can get this really strong effect, but it happens too frequently because of cooldown reduction talents towards the barriers themselves. So this is one way of making it slow, but that seems so slap on the wrist. Although, okay, maybe this is it right here. Barrier diffusion is now 50% effective in PvP. Accumulative shielding is now 33% effective. And temporal velocity is now 50% effective in PvP. Incantation of swiftness is now 50% in PvP combat. So it's not just the duration. They are nerfing the cooldowns oriented around it and the other passive effects around it, which is that is what needed to be nerfed. But remember, they nerfed fire damage on top of this up top, so I'm a bit worried. And Arcane, they are coming after you. Chrono Shift is not going to be Speedy Gonzalez time anymore. You're only going to get 10% increase down for 25. Spell Slinger, Slippery Slinging is now 50% effective in PvP combat. I feel dirty for saying that. I don't even know what that is, but they're nerfing Spell Slinger. I don't know if that's a big deal. Arcane Mages has to let me know in the comments down below. Is that something so important that you're going to play the other hero talent tree? I don't know. Arcane Surge now increases spell damage only by 15% down from 20. Arcane Surge damage increased though by 40%. So the actual cast of the ability is going to go hit harder, but the actual lingering effect after that is going to be less. So are they trying to prevent you from just casting Arcane Surge on a pet behind the pillar so you should actually get through all the kicks? They're doing the same thing for Slippery Slinging for Frost Mage, and I felt the need to say it again. Okay, it's going to be nerfed by 50% PvP combat. For Marksmanship Hunter, oh my god, okay, they cut that really fast. Like they buff Black Arrow up top in the PvE chain. They're like, nah. We'll put it down here. We're not even we'll let you think you're getting it, and then we'll nerf it down here instead of saying that it's not coming through in PvP. Undermine 4-set bonus effectiveness also getting reduced. And so the explosive shot damage up there, no, you're not getting that. Honestly, Marksman is falling. I cannot believe Beast Mastery Hunter is not getting nerfed. I am going to be farming people on Beast Mastery Hunter. I'm just telling you that right now. Like, Marksman Hunter is getting it's basically just going to end up where it is. But okay, the mage changes, those are great. But Beast Mastery Hunter is running away with the show right now. For Windwalker Monk, Celestial Conduit healing, the healing part of it is getting 50% increase. I don't know if Windwalkers really needed to get tankier. Last Emperor's Capacitator now increases damage of Crackling Jade Lightning by 300% down from 400%. I think that's fair. The crackle is hitting really hard, so I'm not surprised to see that. And Slicing Winds is also getting a 15% damage reduction, which I think we're not all surprised to see. But also note that Windwalkers are getting one of the strongest 4-set bonuses in the game, so it's going to be somewhat compensated for that, would be my best estimation. Mistweaver Monk? You guys got something. General throughput has been lacking since the changes. We would like Celestial Conduit to be a bit more impactful of a cooldown. I wonder if they just accidentally put this here and it's not meant to be there and it's meant to be here for Mistweaver. Mana regeneration is now reduced by 40%, so you're getting better mana. Celestial Conduit's also going to heal 50% more. Your Vivify will heal 25% more. You're enveloping Mist by 25%. You're renewing Mist by 40%. So it's kind of interesting here. They're buffing the healers, get more people want to play healer, which I think is really good. It's great. But it's kind of misaligned with their goal of Battlegrounds because they're like, we're going to nerf all the healing, but maybe this is just to get them to be where they were in Battlegrounds before this is the case, because I do think this is good. Buffing the underperforming healers, get people excited to try their healers. Like those Holy Priest changes seem wild. These seem a little bit just more standard changes. There's not any sort of mechanical play with this. It's just flat out, you get more numbers, which should feel better, but you'll still have kind of the rock, paper, scissors element of being really weak to crowd control. But maybe mages won't be as prevalent since they got nerfed, and hunters are really strong now, and Ellie's just got buffed, so that's probably going to bring the mage population down a bit. So maybe Mistweavers will actually end up being in a solid spot. For Paladin, Blinding Light no longer removes damage over time effects. Oh my god! I am finally not going to lose my mind on my Warlock when I'm like, oh my god, I just got Soul Rod off full dots on this guy. Why did he blind it? Oh my god. Thank god. Oh, thank god. Downside is it's probably going to break to dots, but they put the damage threshold in, so maybe it won't. Maybe it's going to be a pseudo stun. Now you're just going to die in Blinding Light. So instead of making the Warlock on the Rets team mad, they're going to just kill you in a Blinding Light. AoE, triple UA, blind the whole team. You're all dead and blind. Haha. I don't know. We have to wait and see. It could play out like that. Holy. Divine Protection now reduces damage taken by an addition. So you're getting more tanky, but only for Holy. I'm not sure about Ret. Yeah, Holy, I mean, you were kind of dying to Demon Hunter as like the main culprit, so a little bit more tanky with the wall. With the buffs as well to Eternal Flame up top. Retribution Paladin, we're pulling back on a few of Retribution Paladin's negative PvP multipliers that we feel are no longer necessary. Avenging Wrath is going to give you 5% more damage from the 10% to 15. Blade of Justice will be doing 20% more damage and possibly then you could play more Blade of Justice builds. I don't know if you are playing many Expurgation builds or not right now, but Divine Protection now decreases damage. You're also getting the Shield Wall effect. It's going from 10% to 15%. So you're getting tankier and more overall damage. So, K-Rep Paladins, you got your wish. It's here. It has arrived. Discipline Priest. Oh, no. What are you guys? We're making adjustments to Discipline Priest emergency healing set bonus and would like their mana to be more of a factor. Yes, because they don't run out of mana. So you're getting nerfed by 15% on your mana regeneration. Evangelism, even with a 25% nerf, is still a layout hands, I swear, for the whole team. The healing taken from the 4-set bonus is now 20% effective in PvP, down from 50%. So I think this mana change is definitely a healthy one. I don't know if this is a huge deal. I get where they're going with this. So you're not as bursty of a healer. You're kind of more of a sustained damage healer, and then going after the set bonus a bit. So this could be major because there have been patches where disc has really good throughput, but it runs out of mana way faster than everybody, so you can't play it. So if that hits that line, you might be in trouble. For Holy Paladins, they're going back on your mana regen nerf by 15%, so you're going to be getting a lot more mana. You're getting 8% flash heal and 8%. Wait, oh, sorry, this is Holy Priest. I thought it was Holy Paladin. Holy Priest are getting more buffs? You're getting more buffs? You're getting more buffs? You're getting more buffs? Mana regen? You're getting more mana regen now on top of all the other changes up top there. Flash heal 8%, heal 8%, Holy Word Serenity 8%, Sanctify 8%, Prayer of Many 8% on top of all the renew buffs and everything. Okay, so Holy Priest. Yeah, I feel like there's absolutely no way that Holy Priest isn't good after all that. Outlaw Rogue, preemptive maneuver now decreases damage taken by an additional 15%, down from 40, and reduces the cost of feint by 10%, down from 30 for Outlaw Rogues. So they're nerfing the you can't die in stuns mechanic, but it's it's less costly, so you can still do more damage, but it'll be less overall damage reduction. That's the only change for Rogue. Okay. Elemental Shaman. Oh my god, are you guys getting even more? We're increasing Elemental sustained single target damage with our changes in the game-wide section with an emphasis on Maelstrom generators. We're also positioning Primordial Wave as a more threatening spell, which should allow for more kill opportunities. And they're just buffing Tempest by 20%. Okay. Enhancement Shamans. What is that? 15% damage on Storm Strike, Wind Strike, 10% on Lightning Bolt, 10% on Chain Lightning, 10% on Ice Strike, 60% on Ice Strike, and now slows enemies. Oh, wait, and now slow. Okay, that's not 60% damage. It's 60% slow. Healing Surge, 15% increase. Primordial Storm. That one hits really hard already. 15% more on that one. Wind Fury attack damage, although will be reduced by 10%. And Stormbringer Tempest damage increased by 20%. So they're kind of dialed back a bit here because the Tempest build got nerfed really hard. No one could play it anymore. So this is kind of putting a little bit more juice back into that. And it's putting a bit of juice as well into the Totemic build with this change and a little bit more healing as well. For Affliction Warlock, Undermine 4-set bonus now applies 2 unstables down from 3. I think that's probably fair. You could literally dot the entire team through LOS with like a 40-yard range. So get UA on 3 targets is like really scary, especially in BGs. So I honestly, this is kind of a slap on the wrist for Affliction Lock. And for Warrior, Arms Warrior, Execute, Bladestorm, and Demolish have not had the impact we would like them to have, so we're increasing their damage. Execute gets a 25% damage increase, Bladestorm gets a 20% damage increase, and Demolish gets a 15% damage increase. So I think there's a lot of specs in here that are very happy that we're kind of on the bottom. Fire Mage, not you. They must be watching the Fire Mages playing Rogue Mage at the top of the ladder, I would think. Because like I just feel like Arcane and Frost were kind of running the show. But this was a lot of changes, and there's a lot of stuff to try out here. I think a lot of good ones, a lot of ones that I'm very concerned about at the same time as well. But overall, I think it's a good direction. I like that they're realizing that we got to bring healing down in Battlegrounds separately from the rest of the game. Otherwise, it's going to create issues. So overall, I'd say this is a W. Bit worried about BM Hunters though. BM Hunter definitely spooky. But other than that, thank you guys for watching the videos. It was a long one, but there was a lot very important stuff to discuss. So hope you guys enjoyed the discussion, and hope you guys are excited to try the changes out on Tuesday. So I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.